Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Akerley, President and CEO of Erdene Resource Development. A little bit of setting of the stage here. I'm a geologist that went into Mongolia when it first opened up to foreign investment in the late 1990s. So I've spent more than half of my career scouring the country looking for open pitable copper gold deposits. And happy to say today we not only have found a new minerals district that has multiple commodities and great deposits, but we entered into production in September of last year with one of the highest grade open pit gold mines globally. So let me share with you some of those details. As I mentioned, new minerals district, I'll share with you a bit of a snapshot of the opportunities there. The gold mine itself, we embarked on a strategy that was, look, we know what we have. We got high grade at surface. The markets were terrible. We didn't want to face dilution, so we said, let's get to production. So it took us a few years. We had COVID interrupt us in that trajectory, but today we're there, and we can use the cash flow from that production to now fund and unlock this tremendous new district. Not only do we have the Bayan Khundii system, but there's two others I'll speak to you about as well. We decided to do this with a partner, Mongolia's largest mining company, listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, Mongolia Minerals Corporation, who brings a conglomerate of companies who offer everything you would need to build out a new mining district, whether it's power transmission, road building, mine building, great experience and a great complement to what we're doing in this neck of the woods. This is one of the best gold belts on the planet. I think it's second only to South Africa in terms of how prolific it's been in gold production. Some of the largest deposits in the world, Morintal, Oyu Tolgoi, 60, 100 million ounces of gold. We went out here in the early 2000s and basically had no competition. First movers, first explorers. The areas I'm about to share with you have never had geologists walk across them before we made the discoveries. So tremendous opportunity for additional discovery. It was isolated and there wasn't a lot of work because there was really not very much infrastructure. And we saw that start to change in the early 2000s. Today, multiple mines. We've just brought in power from China. We've got roads passing our district to bring coal to the border. So this infrastructure has happened now. You know, we're like 200 kilometers north of Timmins, Ontario when it comes to an infrastructure picture. So lots has changed as we've brought these opportunities to bear. Those opportunities include 3 very large hydrothermal systems across the full spectrum of archetype deposits from low sulfidation epithermal to porphyry. You'll see in the southern part of that the BK deposit, that's the Bayan Khundii, anchored by the Bayan Khundii gold mine, which I'll touch on. 16 kilometers north, we have underexplored 500,000 ounce intermediate sulfidation. And 35 kilometers east of that, we have the largest undeveloped molybdenum project in the Asia region with a new copper discovery, as Jeff had alluded to. So just a breadbasket of opportunities in an area that's never seen previous exploration. So we just started September. We had that first gold bar in our hands, but we're in a startup phase. It'll last until we move into Q2 of this year, but very pleased with progress to date. The objective is to get to about 87,000 ounces per year of production from a 4-gram head grade, shared with our partner in a 50-50 alliance. I'll just point out, and it's an important element in the valuation of our company, we retained a 5% NSR that kicks in after 400,000 ounces. That NSR covers all licenses and all commodities that we may produce, so significant upside in valuation on that ultimately. Just a quick snapshot of what happened in Q4. We have a 6-month startup phase. We generated $31 million in gross revenues. We sold about 7,400 ounces of gold. We are now hitting nameplate in the plant. Very impressed with what's happened there. And in fact, we're getting better recoveries running average grade than we anticipated at full grade. So we're sort of in that 95 to 97% recovery range when we had been projecting 93% plus. So very happy to see how that's advanced. Just a quick snapshot of the site. You'll see in the top right, the pit is really just being opened up. We're stripping waste and bringing in low grade. Ultimately, it'll be 150 meters deep. But I would point out this pit was defined at $1,800 gold. So lots of room for expansion as we look at updating the resources around that. I mentioned we'd also brought in a power line from China. Our partner actually invested $26 million to bring in an overhead transmission line, which I think is a testament to their view of what else is going to happen in this district. I mentioned the plant, so not only are we seeing better recoveries than expected, but we're seeing lower consumption of chemicals and some improvements we can make over what was projected in the feasibility study. The ore is being sourced from two locations, Bayan Khundii main pit to the south and Dark Horse to the north. Dark Horse we discovered in 2021, and the grade was so high at 7 grams per ton, we wanted to rush it into the feasibility study, but we've left tremendous upside in exploration, which I'll touch on. The production profile you can see here, and the only thing I'd point out is we're aiming to get to that 87,000 ounces, but this first year, our first 6 months is at 50% as we get this mine up and running, and then as we get to Q2, approach steady state production. You know, we look at this and see 6 years, but I think you'll understand as I share with you some of the resource upside that this is a multi-commodity district and a long life mine in this case. With gold prices moving so quickly, it's hard to keep this graph updated, but you can see here our highest numbers at 5,000, and we're starting to approach $1 billion NPV in this project, shared with our partners on a 50-50 basis, but with that kicker NSR that comes in at the back end. I've updated the all-in sustaining cost to reflect higher gold price. Looking at inflation and higher royalty costs, I'd estimate about $1,250. This came in pretty much on budget, on time, 22 months to build it, and $115 million capital, which is quite low in comparison to what you would spend in the West. So in terms of the upside, I spoke just a second ago about the location of these deposits. Bayan Khundii in the south, Dark Horse 2.5 kilometers north. We've stepped out to the west of the Bayan Khundii pit, and we're hitting 40 meters of 7 grams. I'll show you a couple of examples of additional upside, Ulan and Dark Horse. Ulan is 0.5 kilometer to the west, is not yet in the resource category. We've drilled 330 meters of over 1 gram of gold here with multiple high-grade intervals of up to 40 meters of 8 grams. So this is what's to come as we move forward. And then at Dark Horse, we just completed another 5,000 meters of drilling. As soon as we hit first gold, we started to ratchet up exploration. This is where we have that 7-gram deposit, but it's in a very small portion of this target area. We've just done shallow drilling over 1.5 kilometers of that trend and expect to increase resources here, both for the CIP, but we're also starting to look at a heap leach facility that could complement the CIP, because as you would imagine at $5,000 gold, our cutoff grade has dropped dramatically and we have a lot more low-grade ore to deal with. So perhaps a heap leach to complement the CIP. This is a snapshot of that high-grade supergene. This is an example of what's out there in this area. There has been a very rich gold blanket formed in local areas, but in this case, within 50 meters of surface, there's 50,000 ounces of 7 grams sitting there ready for us to move into the Bayan Khundii system. Moving away from Bayan Khundii to the north, the second system, Altan Nar, 16 kilometers north. There's already 500,000 ounces of gold here, starting at surface down 150 meters. It's close to 2 grams. I view this as economic today. It's a matter of getting through the studies to see how much larger it might be and work through the processing, because this will be somewhat different, more likely a gold flotation concentrate sold into the Asian market. Big system, that 500,000 ounces just sits in those two oval-shaped areas you see, 5 kilometers of exploration opportunity, an exciting second development for us. The structure of the company, I mentioned 50-50 JV in our subsidiary. That's where the debt sits for funding the gold project. We have the 5% NSR on top of that, but separately, we also have another subsidiary we own 100% in. Any acquisitions we make, we will put into that other subsidiary, but also it holds the very large Zuun Mod molybdenum project and a new copper discovery. In that circular area you see in the top right, it hosts the Zuun Mod deposit, and to the top left, about 3 kilometers away, is the copper. 2 weeks ago, we drilled a hole, or announced a hole, where we hit 65 meters of 0.63 copper as part of this very large porphyry copper system. On the right-hand side of the slide is the Zuun Mod deposit. 630 million pounds of molybdenum starting at surface. There's $15 billion worth of metal in this deposit today, so something we intend to start moving forward with. A PEA will be delivered by the time we're into the middle part of this year, and we'll begin to ratchet that project up as well. We acquired an interest in a project near Oyu Tolgoi. We'll do some work on that this year. We have a 571 million Canadian market cap. From a U.S. perspective, low 400s, that's less than what our NPV is on the gold 6-year reserve today. So all of that upside comes for free. Tremendous shareholder base. Eric Sprott's a cornerstone, but institutional interest globally. And just to wrap things up, it's heads down, get this mine to steady state, expand around that with a multitude of low-hanging fruit, bring Altan on, all of that funded by cash flow, and then separately begin to advance our 100% owned Zuun Mod while we explore for copper and gold elsewhere. And we're in a new district that's never before seen exploration, so very excited to see what else we can unlock. Thank you very much.